Thank you very much, Dr. Sam. Now, actually, I thought of beginning my session with a couple of jokes, and I'm sure all of you are familiar with our dear old Sardar jokes. And two of them captivated me in particular because it stresses the importance of communication. I think once what happened is Sardar sits with his girlfriend, and the girlfriend asks him, "Can you give me a ring on our engagement day?" The Sardar happily nods his head and says, "Please give me your phone number." Okay. The second joke is that there's an interview which Sardar is attending, and he's asked how many letters are there in post box, and he says, he's a very smart guy. So he says it depends on the size of the post box. If it's a bigger one, you have 1,000, and if it's a smaller one, you have 100. So basically, you can't blame the Sardar for this, you see, because he's right. See, if the girlfriend had told him, "Please present me a ring," he would have understood. But so the girlfriend was wrong in asking, him to give her a ring, which is a different thing altogether in English. So this is a very small joke, but this suggests how important is communication, and actually, as journalists, we have far more responsibility in delivering this information through different channels of communication, and we have to be absolutely careful. We shouldn't sound like those who ask questions to the Sardar, So we should be careful in whatever we do. Okay, so with this, I would like to just give an outline of what I'm going to do now. I've divided my talk into three sections. Number one, I'm going to talk about journalism. Number two, I'm going to give an overview of media as an industry. And number three, I'm going to give you an idea of what kind of skills you need to have in order to become a journalist. So let me get into the topic straight away. That is, the funniest thing about journalism is even most of the journalists don't understand what journalism is all about. And it may sound funny, but it is true in a sense, because the delivery systems are changing. Because say around 15 or 20 years back, a journalist from a rural area had to write his report and wait for a rusty telex machine to work. But now he's got email, internet is almost everywhere. The delivery systems have changed, and also the fact that the society as a whole is changing today. Today we are one of the fastest growing economies in the world, and we have a lot of positives to talk about. Probably we wouldn't have been able to do all this say around 15 or 20 years back. So it is changing. So what I'm trying to say here is that there is a lot to comprehend as what journalism and journalists are all about. But let me give you a sort of a sketch of how things work in journalism, and leave the rest to you so that you can ask me questions. See, actually, journalism is actually a loose sort of a term for a larger sort of a community, which has a lot of subdivisions in it. Okay, the first subdivision, and perhaps the most important and the most visible of them, are reporters and feature writers. See, reporters are people who are supposed to have the nose for the news. This is one of the most oft-used cliches in journalism. Nose for news is nothing but, not that you sniff around all the time, but you always look out for news. You try to distinguish, the most valuable information from the least valuable information. So these are the guys who normally become reporters, and they are general reporters also. And there are a few of them who are specialists in certain areas. We call beat. Beat is nothing but a specialized area. For example, there is this health beat. Health beat is nothing but journalists who sort of write about health. And you have education beat, and you have a parliament beat, legislative beat, and so on. So these are normally handled by people with a lot of experience, and people who have put in a lot of years into specializing in these areas. This apart, you have the general, reporting, from where most of the journalists begin their career. So these are the guys who normally, run the show, who get the news for their organization. And these are the most visible, as I told you, because they get their names printed on the paper. And of course, the other division among writers as such is, you have the feature writers. The feature writers are those who have a little bit of liberty in sort of using their creativity. I mean, the reporters are poor guys. They have to really stick to the word length, and they're only there to report events. But feature writers have little freedom to talk about trends, talk about analysis, talk about virtually anything with a little bit of a step back approach. So feature writers are those who sort of tell you what is the latest sort of cell phones on the market, what is the latest aftershave on the market, and they would let you know how it works. So I mean, this is just one of the examples I'm giving you. Just an example of how one of the things that they do. So these are actually they make the reporting and the writing side of journalism. And of course, there's this unknown tribe among journalists who are not known outside the four walls of their organization, who are the sub-editors. Now, sub-editors are those who, I know if you know a little bit of programming, you must know about the testers, software development. There are testers and developers. So these are like testers. They go through the articles, they go through the reports that come to them, they clean it up. They make it sound better, they make it palatable to their readers, they correct the factual errors. And in fact, no reporter gives a headline, but people sometimes misunderstand. Reporters don't give headlines. The sub-editors are those who give the headline. They make the article, or what we call copies, adequate to fit it to the page. And these days, they're also doing pages, in the sense, they make the article fit on the page and put the sort of a proper picture to it, and so on. So these are called the last defense in a newspaper. Last defense because they are the last people to read the copy before it goes on print. So they are supposed to correct all the errors and make it sound neat and tidy. So this is the sub-editor for you. Of course, apart from this, you also have the news agencies, because there are events happening across the world, and it's very difficult for a newspaper to post people everywhere. So you take this, services of the news agency. News agency is nothing but, an agency that never prints news but supplies news to the newspapers, on subscription basis, and we get news from them as well. Depending on our the relevance and importance, we print the news also with their credit line. So this is generally what how a newspaper functions, and I've just given a sketch of who all work in the newspaper. And of course, as I told you, there are specializations in journalism. You have development journalism, you have political journalism, you have even disability affairs, social welfare, and all these are becoming specialities in journalism. Okay, so this is all about journalism and how it works. Let me go to the general thing called media. Media is actually a wider thing, a bigger picture of communication industry. It consists not only of newspapers, it consists also of advertisers, people who do copywriting, public relations agencies, corporate communication, divisions of major corporations and companies. So these are actually upcoming careers as well. These people play an important role in making the public understand what a company or a corporate stands for and what they do, and how important the product or service they provide, and things like that. Actually, the people from MBA, people who do MBA and are good at communication are normally taken into the public relations, advertisement, and the corporate communication jobs. And of course, some of them do land in journalism. So this is the media industry for you in general. And my third section is how a visually impaired person can prepare for a career of journalism, or either journalism or media. So first of all, I would like to tell you that Uh, Language skills, language skills are something that has a different connotation here. So if you don't, here people are not expected to come and learn language. It is you are expected to have a certain level of language skills, and when you come to the job, and the other important thing is you survive here by the sheer ability of thinking on the feet. I'll give you a small example as to how ideas make a difference. This is in 1991 when the South African cricket team first toured India. This is their first ever tour after the ban ended, and there was this headline in a newspaper which was very captivating. It said, "Cook comes with rice and vessel." No, but actually there were three players in the team. One is Jim Cook, Kepler Wessels, and Clive Rice, the captain. So they captivated it so nicely that it read as Cook comes with rice and vessel. So I mean, this sort of a thinking has to come in a flash. You need not. I mean, it's not that you wait for a long time to get this, and your language skills are manipulated to create interesting captions and headlines like this. And I mean, one of my favorite writers is a guy called Rohit Brijnath. I don't know how many of you happen to read him, and he writes basically on sports. He once described Tiger Woods. Do you all know Tiger Woods? Okay, Tiger Woods, is he described Tiger Woods as a black man with a white smile. White smile, of course. He's a dark-skinned guy, and when he smiles, you can see all his teeth, and that makes a contrast. It's not just that; it's also the smile that he gives is a very benign sort of a smile, and he's capable of being a benign guy outside the fairways. Tiger Woods. So all these information about him are captured in just one sentence. That is a sort of ability that a journalist must have. I'll give you one more interesting example. The same Rohit Brijnath wrote once that the most used four-letter word in sports is hype. So I mean, normally when you say four-letter word, we think of something else, but this guy talks about hype. So like that, so your ideas are your assets. Your ability to bring in a difference to the way you communicate is what makes you a good journalist. So language is something that you are supposed to have. The quality of it has to be definitely higher. It's not. So we're not talking about communication and language the same way we speak about language and communication in relation to other professions. So it's different here. Number two, see, people normally misunderstand journalism. It's not just sitting and writing something. People can. I mean, that becomes a writing. That becomes writing in a different sense. We are talking about a series of processes that come together. One is your ability to move around. You have to go to different places, meet different people, and when you talk to them, you must know what kind of an information you look from them. You have to be mentally prepared to ask them the kind of questions that would extract the kind of information that you are looking for. That might interest your readership. So this is mobility, and your ability to ask questions and get information is something that is often ignored when people speak about journalism. I would put a lot of emphasis on this, rather than language, because if you are able to collect news and give the right information, this is the biggest service that you can do to your readers and to your organization. So this is very important: mobility and asking the right questions. Number three, your ability to think on the feet. As I told you, when you write, you should be able to package it in a very clear way. There's a method of doing it. My journalism teacher used to say that you just write down points first, from the most important point to the least important point about a subject that you are writing, and then you expand each point into a paragraph. So these are the little techniques that we use. But the common, I mean, I'm just talking from a common sense point of view, where you kind of instinctively understand what is important and what is not. So this is a skill that you must actually develop in order to be a good journalist. Number 4, people again forget an important aspect of journalism, which is objectivity. So you're in the job of informing people. You're not in the job of influencing people. There's a difference between information and influence. So you should understand that you have to be away from what you write. You have to remain neutral. You have to, suppose you are writing about a dispute, you should talk to A and B. Both are involved in the dispute. You write the versions of A as well as the versions of B. So you're not supposed to ignore any of them. So in order to make sure that your reader gets the right information and makes his own conclusions from it. So objectivity is another important thing. And finally, when you talk about soft skills, that you should be in a position to operate computers, and sometimes it so happens that you have to keep the phone on your ear and then start typing, because when you do telephonic interviews, it's important that you take notes. So you may have to do that simultaneously sometimes, and your ability to sort of what do you call learn information that are in hard copy. Sometimes that becomes a big problem, because an employer necessarily doesn't provide you a scanner and an OCR software. So you should probably have to ask for a soft copy, or get the help of a few people inside your own organization and get it done. So there are a lot of things that you never think of that comes your way. What is so interesting about journalism is it's like a treasure hunt. When you go in, you think you're absolutely prepared, but once you start working, you come across things you never thought of. For example, initial days I had a problem in remembering phone numbers, because say around 10 years ago when I started my career, there are little in terms of technology that came to my help. So I had to remember phone numbers literally, and not one or two, hundreds of them. So these are things that you sort of pick up when you start working as a journalist. But more than anything else, what I would like all of you to have is that a journalist is a learner, is a good learner. Everybody needs to learn, but journalist is the only guy who understands that he has to learn each minute of his life. See, I'm talking to you now. I'm sure by the question answer, or by the interaction that I'm going to have with you, there's something else for me to learn. So you always look out for what you learn, how you sort of improve yourself, how you sort of contribute to the society in terms of through your knowledge. So you have that responsibility of contributing to the society through your knowledge, and therefore you learn, and therefore you keep learning a lot of things, and become probably a better informed person than anybody else. So that sort of a quest has to be there. This is not related to how much you earn as a journalist, but this is something that you need to instinctively have in the quest for learning. If you have that, if any of you think that you have that, it naturally becomes a big asset to you, and I'm sure you would make a good journalist.